Good Friday evening to you. Hope your weekend is off to a great start. Welcome to More Sports and Less Levine, the Weekend Winners Edition. I'm Dave Bacon. We've got a baseball team in the middle of a pennant race for the American League Central, and we've got a football team that looks like it's a real competitive NFL team. Cleveland, how about that? What a way to start the weekend. Well, the Browns had many more positives than negatives in that first preseason win over the Washington Redskins. Baker-Mayfield led an impressive first drive that was just what the doctor ordered, kind of 2-minute hurry-up style. Some of the rookies really showed up on defense. And all in all, freddie-kitchens was happy with the effort that he saw from his football team in the first preseason game.
All right, guys, it was good to finally get a chance to compete against other people, and I'm very happy. Our guys felt excited. They were excited and did a good job of competing on it every day. It wasn't always pretty, but I thought they competed the whole game, even to the end. Any questions?
What did you think of that first drive with your first offense out there?
I thought it was a good drive. We didn't have a third down. We were working our 2-minute offense. And I thought that's what they were supposed to do, you know. They're supposed to get completions, big chunk plays. When we hand the ball off, we're supposed to block for Nick. And I thought we did a good job outside, inside, everywhere. It was a really nice first drive.
Did you want to set a tone by taking the ball first? Should we expect that all the time?
I think, you know, so many things factor into that: weather, wind, your plan. Our plan was to open and get some work in 2-minute offense. And, you know, we were trying to score, you know. No, you can't expect it. It just depends on game to game. I don't want to get into it too much first drive.
But could you see yourself going with the no-huddle hurry-up in other stages of the game?
I'm sure we could. We did it last year, too, at the end, last game of the year.
What was your thinking with Corbett and such a long shift at center?
Well, I mean, we're trying to rotate guys in and out and see where they fit. You know, I thought, you know, Kalis did a couple nice things before he went out. You know, Cush, you know, the first group, when he was in there with the first group, did well. You know, no pressures or anything like that in the first drive. Had a nice run on a sprint draw. So all those guys keep competing, and you know, we'll see where we're at. But even if we find a right guard, we still got other spots to fill. So there's still a lot of competition going on, you know, up front, just like out wide, you know. Receiver, running back. I mean, we've got competition in several areas. I mean, everybody likes to look at the first group and decide who that is. But when you get into the season, you better have some depth. You better have some dependability, accountability, and reliability on people that are backing these guys up. And that's what we're looking for.
What was the decision on resting Odell and Jarvis? Just not worth the risk?
Yeah, I didn't think it was worth the risk. You know, they've been, you know, trying to fight through a couple things and minor things, nothing to write home about per se, but just, I mean, no reason. I mean, why?
And then Ogunjobi and Miles Garrett did play. Did they just
They,
take them off? Or
you know what, we discussed it. They wanted to play one series, and I'm glad they did. Miles had a good pressure on the quarterback and made him throw the ball away.
It was a little over 2 minutes, so not exactly. Yeah.
Was it all scripted, or were you just calling?
No, we were calling as it goes. You know, kind of had an idea of what we wanted to do. Not really knowing exactly what they were going to come out when we were playing that fast, but just seeing the adjustments and checking the ball down when they're carrying the seams and stuff like that. Get the ball down to your back quickly and let them do some work, and they did a good job. You know, I think there's a time for it, but in our division, we got to be able to slow the clock down and run the ball when we need to. You know, there's situations where, yeah, we can press the tempo a little bit, and I think, you know, once we get comfortable in that, we can be pretty good at playing fast and having success, but we got to be good at it all.
I know it's only the preseason opener, but how nice to start that way, especially with Odell and Jarvis.
It's great. You know, we got to have guys, you know, we always say, next man up. Got to have that mentality of whoever's in there has got to have success and got to be able to play. And just having those guys out there and doing well that first drive means a lot. And we'll go back and watch the tape. We weren't perfect at all, but a lot of things to work on, but a lot of good things that happened today.
How do you see Nick Chubb improving from his rookie year, which was pretty good, to now?
He played like 3 plays tonight, so I'm just messing with you. No, he's same guy. Head down, works really hard. Doesn't say much. You just know exactly what you're going to get out of him. He looks like he's feeling really great. He's healthy. He's just being more comfortable in this offense, pass protection-wise, because run game, he's going to take care of that. But just seeing everything in the game slowing down for him, pass protection-wise, there's been tremendous, improvement with his game.
What are Hilliard's characteristics that might make him an effective quote-unquote replacement for Duke?
I'd say just that third down back style that everybody wants to say, just being a receiver out of the backfield, that can be lethal for an offense to have when defenses want to double-team receivers like we have. So we got to have somebody out of the backfield at all times that can catch the ball.
Those 2 longer games, did you just kind of take them in stride because you've seen them in practice, or were they kind of eye-opening in a way?
For Dontrell?
Yeah, 14 back-to-back, if I'm not mistaken.
No, just what they're doing on defense. We got to have guys that are making plays at all times. We got to have people that are ready to step up.
What makes Higgins so trustworthy?
I think it goes back to last year, getting reps with him in camp with the second team and just building a chemistry with him and being able to talk to him all the time and just knowing exactly what you're going to get out of him every play.
Baker-Mayfield talking about his game in Game 1 against the Redskins. Browns will practice again today and Monday. Then they head off for joint practices against the Colts, and they will play the Indianapolis Colts in Indianapolis with that second preseason game. Well, it was quite a grand opening, about a little over an hour from downtown Cleveland. It is the Bet America Sportsbook's ribbon cutting at Presque Isle Downs and Casino in Erie, Pennsylvania. And there it goes. Sportsbook officially open just a little bit over an hour from downtown Cleveland. You can bet on football, you can bet on baseball, you can bet on basketball, you can bet on cricket, rugby, and probably pretty much any sport you can imagine. Legalized sports betting at the Bet America Sportsbook. 50 state-of-the-art kiosks make wagering on any sports event and futures. You can bet on the Indians to win the American League Central, as well as the Browns' first game, regular season game that is, against the Titans. Browns 5.5-point favorites as they look at that first NFL game of the regular season for 2019. Presque Isle Downs and Casino, their sportsbook, officially opened yesterday, so just an hour away from Cleveland. Want to tell you about Northeast Factory Direct. If you need furniture and you want really nice stuff but don't want to spend outrageous amount of money, got to check out Northeast Factory Direct. They have sofas, sectionals, theater seating, bedroom sets, mattresses, kitchen tables, dining room sets, hot tubs, pool tables, kitchen cabinets, granite countertops. You get the idea. They pretty much have anything you want to improve your home. It's the same stuff, if not nicer, than you find at the big, expensive retail store. The owner is Alex, good guy. Could charge you the same as the big stores, but he buys in volume, cuts out all the expensive overhead, passes on the savings to you. Northeast Factory Direct, 3 locations in Northeast Ohio. West 140th Street in Cleveland, in the old B&B Appliance on Lakeshore Boulevard in Eastlake, and Freeway Drive out in Macedonia. You can check out everything at northeastfactorydirect.com. Time for us to step aside, take a quick time out. Cleveland.com Browns beat reporter Dan Labbe will break down the Browns' victory coming up on More Sports and Less Levine, the Weekend Winners Edition. Stay with us. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program has been recognizing role model students and teachers since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Supporting Education. There, you can nominate students in kindergarten through 12th grade as academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible for the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. Welcome back to More Sports and Less Levine, the Weekend Winners Edition. I'm Dave Bacon. We have already told you Browns looked pretty good in that preseason opener against the Washington-Redskins last night. Time to welcome in cleveland.com Browns beat reporter Dan Labbe. Dan, your biggest takeaways. You've been there every day of training camp. You were there last night. Biggest takeaways from what you've seen.
The offense lived up to the hype last night. That first-team offense, we didn't see a lot of them, but they really lived up to the hype, and they did it without Jarvis Landry. They did it without Odell Beckham. They did it without Duke Johnson, who was traded. So to see the offense come out, just kind of hum along like that, you love to see, you're supposed to make it look easy in the preseason, and that's what they were able to do.
You mentioned no Odell Beckham Jr., no Jarvis Landry. Probably wise if they're battling through minor injuries. First preseason game, not a time to put them out there. Who do you think really kind of opened some eyes from the receiving position? That obviously when the top two guys aren't playing, there's an opportunity there.
Yeah, I think Rashard Higgins just continues to make plays, and I don't think his roster spot was in jeopardy or anything coming into this to this camp, but the guy's just where he's supposed to be. Like, whenever a quarterback needs him to be somewhere on 3rd and 7 or on that play when Baker was dropped back and there he was in the end zone in the perfect spot, he's just always reliable. He's become sort of that, I hate to say possession receiver because I think he's more than that, and he's playing in the slot a little more now too. He's just become a really reliable guy for this team.
He's probably pushing Callaway for that 3rd spot and may actually have it just because he is always where he's supposed to be.
Yeah, I mean, if you really look at it, like, what does Antonio Callaway have over Rashard Higgins? The only thing you really can point to right now is he's really fast. Mm-hmm. But if you're really fast and you can't, you're not reliable, it's not going to help your quarterback. So right. I think when push comes to shove, Rashard Higgins might be the guy that gets put out there. He's a little more versatile too. Like I said, he plays in the slot, he can play outside. And you know what? Taking a little pressure off Callaway is not a bad thing.
You alluded to the trade of Duke Johnson. I thought it was a good one. People don't realize 11th highest paid running back in the NFL, making $1 million less than Ezekiel Elliott. So when you look at that, it's like, yeah. Now, having said that, where do they go for those first 8 games, do you think? Is that an area they look to upgrade? And I know they like Hilliard.
Yeah, I mean, they do really like Hilliard. He had that fumble on the goal line yesterday. Mm-hmm. You can't do that. Duke Johnson had his fumble problems too, but you just can't fumble in that situation, especially on a 4th down like that. But they like Hilliard's versatility. And the thing is, Nick Chubb, he's kind of a workhorse back. You don't want to run him into the ground, but he's a guy that I think is better when he carries the ball 18 times, 20 times. Now, how realistic is that week to week? Yeah, I don't know. In the modern NFL, you don't see that a lot, but the Browns do have kind of an old school back. Duke Johnson used to call him old school. They have an old school back who can carry the ball 18 times, 20 times. So if they do want to kind of not run him into the ground, but really kind of put the workload heavily on him, I think he's the guy that can handle it.
What about some of the guys in the back half of that depth chart that kind of might be able to separate and show some things?
Well, they have Dearness Johnson, who's a guy that heard Duke chants every time he touched the ball at training camp. Everybody thought it was Duke Johnson, who was actually standing on the sideline. But he's a guy that has an opportunity now to maybe step up. And there was some confusion when people were looking at a box score last night. They'd see D. Johnson, and then, wait, I thought the Browns traded him. This kind of opens the door for a kid like A.J. Ouellette out of OU. I don't think he really had a chance, and I don't know that he has a chance to make the roster, but now maybe he can sneak onto the practice squad or something. It's going to give a guy like that some more reps and a more of an opportunity, especially as we get to like the 4th preseason game.
And the other thing is you can be sure John Dorsey will be keeping his eye on what happens. There are still some veteran free agent running backs, but my guess is if the Browns were really interested, they'd probably been exploring that a little bit heavily already.
Yeah, the reality is they're just trying to get through until Kareem Hunt comes back. And I do think we're going to see a very pass-heavy offense. I don't even though I just said, Nick Chubb's a guy that can carry the ball 18 to 20 times, I think it's going to be a pass-heavy look because they have so many good receivers, so much versatility, and coming out and running that hurry-up last night, I think sent a message that the Browns are going to play fast and they're going to throw the football.
And that's really where the offenses in the NFL have been going. Now, the thing to talk about, offensive line. What'd you look at? What'd you see there? What kind of maybe surprised you even a little bit?
I think the big thing to keep an eye on here over the next probably week or so as they go to Indianapolis now and they play that game next Saturday is, does Eric Kush take a hold of that right guard job? It sort of started going that way. He had been the guy a few days in a row, which is the first time we've seen it, going back to the spring, a guy starting at right guard multiple days in a row. So then he walks out there on Thursday, he starts. They played him a little bit more than just with the first team. But he's going to have an opportunity now over these next couple practices here, going to Indianapolis for the joint practices, to say, this is my job. Nobody's going to take it. And it's a little concerning that not only was Austin Corbett playing in the fourth quarter last night, he was playing center. And I didn't see him at right guard. Maybe I missed a rep or two at right guard, but it looked like he played center all night Thursday night. That's a problem.
The other thing, backup quarterback. What did you notice? You saw a lot of Gilbert. You saw a little bit of Blah. What do you?
I think it's still Drew Stanton.
Yeah.
I really do. I think they really believe in and trust Drew Stanton. They've been saying it since the combine. Now, actions speak louder than words in this league. Freddie Kitchens kept saying over and over again, we have a role for Duke Johnson. Duke Johnson's not on the team anymore. So, sometimes you take this stuff with a grain of salt. But to me, when Drew Stanton goes out, plays 2 series or whatever, well, maybe it was 3 series, and then they take him out and hand it over to Garrett Gilbert pretty quickly, that tells me they don't need to see a lot of Drew Stanton. So even though he didn't look good last night, they don't need to see a lot of him. They seem to trust him. We'll see if that changes. Maybe if Garrett Gilbert puts together a couple strong games, they rethink things. But I think as of right now, they trust Drew Stanton in that job.
Dan Labbe, cleveland.com beat reporter. We're going to take a quick time out here, and we will talk about the defensive side of the ball. But first, I want to tell you, you should explore your interests and find a program that puts you on the path to a bright future. Tri-C, Cuyahoga Community College, offers more than 1,000 courses and over 140 career and technical programs. Go try -.c edu and find out more. That's try-c.edu to find out more. We mentioned we will talk more Browns when we return. We'll talk about the rookies and the defensive side of the football. More sports and less. Levine, the Weekend Winners Edition. We'll be right back. Stay.
No other company or product can match the features, benefits, and warranty of an authentic Nature Stone floor.
We had a horrible storm that flooded our basement.
We had to take out that nasty moldy carpet.
And we never want to have to go through that again. That's when we called Nature Stone.
And with Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty, you will never have to replace your basement flooring again. Get Nature Stone installed by the end of August and save up to 50%. Schedule your free cost estimate easily online today at naturestone.com. It's not just a floor, wow, it's Nature Stone.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's Kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget. Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a line. A long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Yeah, he continues to get better. It's kind of one of those things where just he's keeping his head down. It wasn't going good for him early in camp, but he kept his head down and kept working one day at a time and one rep at a time. And before you know it, he starts making plays and in better position. His eyes are in better better places and spots, and getting other guys lined up. The communication ended up, is starting to get better with that group. And then once you know how to get there and where to get there, the rest is just making plays. So.
Freddie Kitchens talking about Mack Wilson, who had a pick six as well as another interception in that first preseason game Thursday night against the Redskins. Joined by cleveland.com Browns beat reporter Dan Labbe. Dan, you've seen him develop from the beginning of rookie minicamp. What about the way Mack Wilson has started to play?
It's been absolutely wild to watch him. I mean, Freddie Kitchens said it. He didn't necessarily look great early in camp, and now he's just taken off. He seems to intercept a pass almost every practice. He's had 3 pick sixes now, 2 in practice. 1 yesterday in the game. He predicted he was going to get a pick six to his training camp roommate, Sione Takitaki. I mean, it's great to see this guy. Picked in the 5th round, really athletic, comes from a big program in Alabama. Sometimes you don't know, defenders haven't always translated from Alabama to the pros well, but it looks like Mack Wilson is one of those guys that's going to translate well.
He was a guy that, a lot of people thought could have gone as high as the 2nd, 3rd round, and he fell to the 5th. Points again to the Browns. It looks like that's a steal at this point.
Yeah, John Dorsey's not afraid to take those chances. I mean, if a guy's there that he really wants to take, he's going to be aggressive and he's going to take him. And it's a 5th round pick. So if you miss on it, okay, you miss on it. It's a 5th round pick. But if you hit on it like you did with Jannard Avery a year ago, you're a rock star. And right now, Mack Wilson, it's still early. It's the preseason. He wasn't doing it against the top quarterbacks, but to see him make plays, making plays matters this time of year. And to see him do that, maybe he's going to start pressing a little bit for more and more playing time as we get closer to the season.
Speaking of Mack Wilson and the rookies, a couple of the rookies showed up. Greedy had a pick. So,
yeah.
What have you seen from Greedy so far?
He makes some mistakes, and Joe Witt, the secondary coach, was saying that he's a guy that is going to has made mistakes. He needs to get better, but he's also a guy that just has a nose for the football. Some guys, the football just kind of finds them, and Mack Wilson is one of those guys, and I think Greedy Williams is one of those guys, and that's going to be beneficial because if Denzel Ward is as good as we think he is, quarterbacks aren't going to want to throw that way. He's going to have the top receiver on one side of the field draped. So if Greedy Williams, whose body's a little different from Ward's, a little bit longer, stride's a little bit different, that ball's going to come his way, and he's going to have a chance to get, what if he ends up with 5 or 6 picks this year? Maybe he makes some mistakes, maybe he gets beat here and there, but if he's got that nose for the football and can come away with some picks because of the way Ward is playing on the other side, that's big time for this team.
It also appeared, at least early in yesterday's game, he can tackle a little bit better than people were giving him credit for. And maybe that got under his skin a little bit that was there.
I think it did, and we've seen him in camp come up and make some run stops, and that's good to see. He didn't. I don't think he actually believed that tackling narrative. I don't know that the Browns actually really believed that tackling narrative that much, and certainly early on he seems to be disproving that.
The other one. The great story about Damon Sheehy, Giuseppe. What about that? That had you were there on TV. It looked pretty cool. What was the atmosphere like?
I mean, when have you ever seen an entire sideline in a preseason game, an entire sideline just clear and maul a guy like that in the end zone? That's something you would expect to see in a high school game or a college game or something. But to see pros react like that, I mean, these guys are the top of the profession, and they run on the field and celebrate with this guy. It just tells you how much they appreciate his story, the work he's putting in, and quite frankly, I don't know if he's going to make this roster, but if you keep making plays like that, you're going to get opportunities now higher up the depth chart, and now maybe if you return a couple more, and not that you have to have like 3 or 4 returns in the preseason, but if you show you can do that job, maybe they see value in you and keep you around.
Well, the other thing is he's a guy that at times has made really nice catches as a receiver, and then there's been times where he probably should have caught balls that he didn't.
Yeah, and unfortunately for him, that wide receiver room is so crowded.
Yeah,
because you have obviously like those top 4 guys, and it feels like Derek Willis is probably on the inside track to make this roster. If not him, Jalen Strong. So you don't have a lot of wide receiver spots. So he's got to show his value like he did last night, that he can contribute in the return game, because this team doesn't really have a guy that can do that consistently right now.
As the Browns look forward to the Indianapolis game, they're going to have joint practices and all that, and those practices probably every bit as important as the game. But what are they looking at, do you think? What do you think they really need to upgrade and focus on as they move to second week of preseason.
Well, they've got to get that offensive line figured out. Who's going to stick at right guard? What's going on with Austin Corbett? I would like to see this defensive line as a whole play together. We got to see a few guys out there, but I'd like to see them play together. And I'd like to see some of those guys down the line too. Chad Thomas is a guy that actually had a pretty good game last night. So can he continue that and get better? I think that's a big thing. And then in that secondary, just sort of continue to figure out who's going to play where, who's going to start, who's going to be in the back end at safety, just sort of little things like that, which is a very different thing for this football team. We're talking about little things. We're not talking about the huge things for this team.
Last thing I'll ask you, defense. Were you impressed a little bit? Obviously, a different scheme, a different look. Did anything with the defense jump out?
I just thought they were really aggressive. They got after the quarterback. It didn't matter who it was on the Brown side. It didn't matter who was playing quarterback for the Redskins. They were getting after the quarterback and turnovers. This team forced so many turnovers last year, and sometimes that's not sustainable. If they continue to do that, this defense is going to be really good.
Well, Dan Labbe, Browns beat reporter for cleveland.com, as always. Appreciate the time.
Yep.
And he will be with the Browns wherever they go, and he'll be in here occasionally when he can make it to help us out here on More Sports and Less Levine, the Weekend Winners Edition. We have to take a quick time out. I want to remind you, if you need furniture and you want really nice stuff but don't want to spend outrageous amount of money, you got to check out Northeast Factory Direct. They have sofas, sectionals, theater seating, bedroom sets, mattresses, kitchen tables, dining room sets, hot tubs, pool tables, kitchen cabinets, granite countertops, and more. The same stuff, if not nicer, than you'd find at the big expensive retail stores at about half the price. They buy in volume and they cut out all the expensive overhead. He passes on the savings to you. That's Alex, the owner, a good guy. 3 locations, West 140th Street in Cleveland, in the old B&B Appliance building on Lakeshore Boulevard in Eastlake, and Freeway Drive in Macedonia. Check out everything they have to offer at northeastfactorydirect.com. We're going to take a quick time out. We will check in on Corey Kluber in Columbus here on More Sports and Less Levine, the Weekend Winners Edition. Stay with us.
As a kid growing up, my dream was to go to college, play baseball, and get a degree. Coming out of high school, I had 2 choices. I was accepted into a 4-year university, but I decided to come to Tri-C after receiving a scholarship. I got my associate's degree at Tri-C. They transferred all my credits straight into Baldwin-Wallace, so I started at Baldwin-Wallace University as a junior. My name is Tyler Leonard, and I earned my first degree at Tri-C.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program has been recognizing role model students and teachers since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Supporting Education. There, you can nominate students in kindergarten through 12th grade as academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible for the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
It takes attention to detail. With your local Bryant dealer, you're getting more than just a technician. You're getting someone who pays attention to your needs and the little things that make a big difference. It takes a dealer you can rely on. And to keep your family cool this summer,
let me show you how this works.
It takes Bryant.
Bryant. Whatever it takes.
And to keep your family comfortable, it takes Smiley One Heating and Cooling. Find them at 440-449-HEAT.
Welcome back to More Sports and Less Levine, the Weekend Winners Edition. I'm Dave Bacon. The Indians begin play tonight, just a game behind the Minnesota Twins in the American League Central. Even better news, Corey Kluber, pitching for the first time yesterday since May 1st, actually pitched pretty well. It was a AAA rehab start in Columbus. He went 3 innings, gave up just 2 hits. They were both solo home runs. He did strike out 2 and walk 1. He retired his final 5 batters that he faced in the game, and all in all, not bad for a guy that hadn't pitched against live hitting in a game situation in 3 months.
All right, Corey, obviously the first thing everybody's concerned with is how do you feel after your outing?
Good. I haven't run into anything that's felt out of the ordinary yet, and today was more of the same, so that's encouraging.
Yeah, obviously your first look at live hitters in front of a crowd. Does the adrenaline ramp up and make things more real?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of the adjustment, whether it be a rehab start or spring training and stuff, is getting into that that mindset of competing and being in the game as opposed to being in the bullpen working on stuff. So there's that adjustment period there, but that's why we do it.
Part of the game obviously is injuries to pitchers, but it's usually an elbow, a shoulder, something freak like a line drive. Is that more frustrating than another type of injury?
I think they're all frustrating in their own sense, regardless of what it is. Nobody wants to miss time. Nobody wants to not be able to go out there and try to win ball games with their teammates and try to contribute. So I think regardless of what the injury is, it's frustrating. I think that I just took the mindset of trying to do everything that I was able to at each different phase and try to prepare myself so that hopefully when I was able to start, whether it be working out or throwing or pitching, those kind of things, there was a little bit of less of a bumpy road once I got started.
Corey Kluber making his first rehab start, AAA, last time he pitched, May 1st. The guy who Corey was talking to was play-by-play voice of the Columbus Clippers, Ryan Mitchell. He joins us now. Ryan, you saw the rehab start. You talked to Corey. What really stood out about that?
Well, just the fact that he got on the mound after so much time away. Like he said, that's just getting in front of a crowd is a big, big thing. You're facing somebody in a different uniform. You're not in Goodyear, Arizona. You're not working out before the gates open at Progressive Field. So I think he looked like he belonged. Certainly, that's one of the first things you look for. Is the delivery smooth? Does it look familiar as it did when he was out there last time? And it did. I went and talked to him before the game very briefly. He looked to be in good physical condition. He just was raring to go. And 2 hits, they both happened to go out. That's what happens in AAA in 2019. There are a lot of home runs being hit. But yeah, outside of that, there wasn't even a lot of hard contact against him. And he struck out 2 batters, walked 1 man. Actually, only took him 40 pitches to get through the 3 innings. He was scheduled to go 50, 55 pitches. And so he went down to the bullpen after the game, after his outing, rather, and finished out his pitch count before talking with the media. So I think he feels good about that as a first step. Obviously, the velocity is not where it's going to be when he has fully built back up. He was touching 90 miles per hour, living in that upper 80s zone. So I think it was a great first step for him. And now, as the Indians have said, he'll go on to Akron to make his next start. The Clippers are out of town. So it's great for the Indians to have so many affiliates nearby.
And the other thing is Corey is a guy, and you know this dealing with guys that are on rehab, he knows exactly what he needs to do to build up, and the fact that he was encouraged is, I would guess, a pretty good sign.
Yeah, I don't think there's anybody that knows their body or their process better than Corey Kluber. The whole Klubot thing, he's very stoic. He doesn't show a lot of emotion, and that is a part of who he is, but he's also a guy who's always been very regimented and very serious about maintaining his physicality and putting himself in the best position to help the team every time he takes the baseball. So I think, as you heard there in the clips when he was talking after his appearance, he felt good. I asked him later on about, is he raring what's coming forward? And he said, he's trusting the process of the rehab. When I asked him basically, would you have liked to go out for another inning to finish out those 50 to 55 pitches? And you could see that, the competitor in him wanted to get back out there and continue, but there's a plan in place. And that plan is well thought out. The Indians don't do anything without a plan. And Corey has bought into that over his entire career. So they are, I think, in lockstep with what they want to do to get him back to the major leagues. And he felt, I think, that he took a major step forward yesterday.
Location and command, actually, did you see kind of that? Obviously, first time back in 3 months, that's going to be spotty in a live game. Did you see that kind of get better?
I think, and you mentioned at the top of this, 5 outs in a row to finish out the outing. So it did get better. His command got a little bit finer. The fastball velocity will grow. The breaking stuff looked pretty good. He threw a couple of breaking balls that really looked sharp, and he located where he wanted to. You could, I don't know how many fans out there pay much attention to this, but where the catcher sets up and puts that mitt, can tell you a lot about a pitcher's command. Sometimes it's a bit of a dodge, but usually that's where they want the baseball. So if the catcher really has to move from one side of the plate to the other, that's when a guy doesn't have great command. But I think it certainly got better as the game went along, and he never looked like somebody who was trying to find his way. He looked like a guy who was trying to build up and fine-tune.
Ryan Mitchell, play-by-play voice of the Columbus Clippers. We appreciate the time talking. Corey Kluber, I'm sure we'll check back in with you again as Kluber makes another rehab start. Ryan, we appreciate the time very much. Thanks very much.
All right, thanks for having me. Anytime.
All right, Ryan Mitchell from the Columbus Clippers as Corey Kluber gets ready to try to help the Indians, just a game and a half back of the American League, of the Minnesota Twins in the American League Central as we start play tonight. That's going to do it for us on this edition of More Sports and Less Levine, the Weekend Winners Edition. Have a great weekend, everybody. Les will be back in Monday night from 6 to 7. Stay safe.